Let's learn about the rock cycle. There are three main types of rock that you find out in nature. One is igneous, the second is metamorphic, and the third is sedimentary. Now, each of these rocks can be changed into the other by certain methods. Usually, that's either heat or pressure or both. You make igneous rocks from extreme heat, then letting them cool and harden. Metamorphic rock is made by applying heat and pressure. Sedimentary rock is made by putting pressure on layers of sediment. Now, sediment is teeny tiny pieces of other rocks or soil. Rocks change between different types and move around the earth a few different ways. First, they get broken down into small pieces. That's called weathering. And it's usually either done by a physical process, a chemical process, or a biological process. Physical processes are done when water and wind scrape away at a bigger rock and wear down tiny pieces off of it over time. Water can also get into cracks in those bigger rocks and then freeze, and freezing water expands and becomes bigger, so it pushes those rocks apart and makes smaller pieces that way. Chemical weathering is done when something such as rain falls on a rock like limestone. When that happens, an acid is created that eats away at the limestone. That's how a lot of caves are made. Biological weathering is done by an animal or a plant. You may see this if a tree is planted nearby rocks. When its roots grow, it forces that rock apart. Now, as we said, sediments are those tiny pieces. And those sediments often are light enough they get moved around by things like the water and the wind that break those rocks down. When the sediments are actually moving from one place to another, that is called erosion. When enough of the sediments build up and become too heavy to move by that water or wind, that's called deposition, where we leave the pieces in a new place. Let's make some rocks of our own. What you'll need is some starburst. I used 3 different colors, so it was easier for you all to see the difference and changes in them, but you can use whatever colors you want. Now, you'll also need a microwavable surface, like a plate. You'll also need an adult's help using either a toaster oven or a microwave. First, do you remember how sedimentary rocks were made? That's right, they have pressure added to them. So what we're going to do is take these layers and between our fingers and squeeze really, really hard. This acts as our pressure, kind of like how layers of riverbeds or the ocean get laid down by deposition over time. And then more layers get added, and that adds to the pressure or the weight on top of them, and eventually they'll make some rocks. What did you notice about the changes in the starburst as you put pressure on it? What happened to the colors? What about its shape and its texture? Did any of those change? Let's look at our metamorphic rock next. Now, this is the one you're gonna have to have adult help with. So let's go ahead and get 3 new pieces, stack them together. We're going to put them on a microwave-safe plate. So you'll remember igneous rocks are formed with extreme heat, and then they cool and they harden and they become a different type of rock. So while this is cooling, we can make our metamorphic rock. Metamorphic rocks use both heat and pressure. First, I'm going to wrap my 3 new pieces up in some tinfoil. Next, you can either put the starburst between your hands and clasp them together and try to push on them really slowly as your hands warm them up. Or another fun way to do it is to sit on it. While you sit on it, the heat from your body and the pressure from you sitting will form those metamorphic rocks. Now, it does take about 5 minutes for that to happen, or you can put it on a microwave safe dish again, but only for about 2 to 3 seconds, and then squish it after it's come out of the microwave. Does that metamorphic color or shape or texture look any different than your igneous rock? Does your metamorphic rock look like your sedimentary? Are there any color differences? Is it shaped different? Are the textures the same? I hope you all had fun learning a little bit more about rocks today and how they change and move over time. One other game I'd like to share is a relay. Now, if you have enough people, you can split up to teams between water and wind, and you can set up one area with either balls or toys. You can even use like sock rolls, and then designate another spot where you will deposit them. Challenge each other to weather your rock piles, erode them to your new spot, deposit them, and begin the whole process over again.